And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to a new video. Sorry, I took a few days off this week, been traveling, but I am back and I wanted to talk about Stellantis. And I know we kind of stepped away from this. I don't want to call it trash talking, but some of you call it that. This weekend when I did some videos with my Challenger, and I enjoyed doing those videos, and I will do more videos with the Challenger that are not the drama stuff. And I'm doing that for myself as well as for you, because I think I need to clean my brain out once in a while, because I get sucked so much into the news articles that I get just, frankly, can end up just depressed when you see this stuff. But I'm also wildly interested in the business aspect of the car business, the car industry, and especially Stellantis, because they own Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram, and we are all sitting back on the sideline watching the, I hate to use this analogy, but horrible car accident taking place, which is the leadership at that company. And in just a second, I'm going to share with you what happened to them, how they got just beaten horribly in 2024, and why I think that is, and what they can do to fix it. And I'm hoping maybe one of them, one of the leaders there, are actually watching these little YouTube channels like mine. All right, so let's check out this article. This is all over the internet right now, and they are definitely taking a beating on their stock. If I look over at just the Stellantis stock price, here you go. It's definitely cratering. And if you just look at, just in the last 5 days, I mean, they are heading into the toilet bowl, and I don't think they are going to return from there for a very long time, but they're definitely saying all the things they're supposed to say. But here's what happened. This is the headline. And first I want to analyze this. Stellantis earnings. Big three automaker reveals 70% profit drop in 2024. Sees return to growth in 2025. Total BS, but that's okay. If they don't say that, then they get even beaten even worse. And when they say that, they've got to say they have a plan. And so far, none of us know how their plan is. And I don't even think Wall Street does, which is why they're getting punished a little bit. But first thing I wanted to just address is when they say they're big three automaker, Stellantis, let's just call it like it is. They are not an American company. And Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram have been sucking so bad this last couple years because of horrible leadership, horrible decision-making, and many other reasons we'll talk about in a second that has made them no longer part of the big three. And here's why. Tesla is part of the big three. So you've got Ford, GM, and Tesla. That's the big three. And I think that is what we first have to accept and acknowledge. And if they want to be back in the big three, they're going to have to really step it up. Because in my world, when I'm meeting with my executives and my finance people, I'm allowed to have a bad year. We've all had them. But I'm not allowed to underperform an underperforming year, meaning if the market's down 10%, I can't be down 30%. As a matter of fact, ideally, I should be down 5%, which would mean I'm outperforming the market by 5%. These guys are getting creamed. 70% of their profit, their total revenues dropped, everything's horrible. Now, we all know that. That is nothing, absolutely nothing new. And no matter what happens when you read this article, it's their bloated inventory. Tavares screwed it up. Here's their revenue drop, ridiculously massive. And we're talking with Stellantis, it's billions of dollars. So billions of dollars. Now, I think one of my last videos, they were sitting on $30 billion. But when you do the math, that with all the retooling and work they're going to have to do to bring this company back, they're going to have to burn lots of cash that they have in reserves, along with burning cash in losses. But the part I wanted to talk about here, without getting any politics involved, is it's interesting to see that they so misread the room, apparently, when they were trying to predict the future. And they went all in with their electrification, and now they're realizing that not only is that an issue, but one that they probably aren't going to abandon, but the other issue is that Tavares spent so much time and money moving the jobs, moving manufacturing outside of the U.S., and now with potential tariffs looming and a whole new administration in place, they realize, we got to come back. We've got to reopen Belvedere. We've got to start making Hemis in Detroit. We've got to start selling more Ram trucks with Hemis. Most likely, we hear that is for sure gonna happen. And if you go watch TK's recent video, it sounds like Elkin is screaming his head off. What do we need to do to get this fixed this year? Because you can have a bad year and you can blame it on the last CEO, but you can't blame it on the last CEO if you have another bad year. It's going to be on Elkin. So Elkin either needs to get somebody hired quickly that can be the fall guy for another bad year, or he needs to fix this thing. And it sounds like he needs to fix it. But you know what it sounds like to me is, other than just moving lots of manufacturing back to the U.S., it doesn't sound like they've figured out what the real problem is. And that's where I want to just address this in this hopefully a short video and lay this out. TK said that the word that they are muttering around Stellantis now is Hemi. That could save the company. I will say, to an extent, TK's right, especially in their truck division. They need a V8 there. They want, especially with the new world we're living in, they could sell those things. And with the truck rules, even if CAFE standards were to stay around a while, they can get away with it a lot longer with the trucks. So they absolutely need to keep the Hemi in those trucks, and they need to start pumping those things out and competing fairly or even unfairly against all of their competitors like Ford and GM and others. So let's just say they figure that out. And it sounds like that's the direction they're heading. And that's where the special magical word that TK shared today in his video was Hemi. But I will tell you, I don't believe the Hemi could save Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram alone. The Hemi can't save it alone. It can certainly help it, but it cannot save it. So they've made one step in that direction, but they need to bring a lot more stuff out with those Hemis. But they also need to, and the reason why they need to do this is because if you look back at the sales numbers, when they had all the Hemi options and the Chargers and Challengers and the trucks and everything out there, that they absolutely still made so much more money, maybe not in the truck world, but in Dodge, made so much more money on their smaller, cheaper, more economical starter cars, the cars that people bought to get to and from work, and their prices were a lot better. And their quality, frankly, when it came to the appearance, the interiors, the build quality, was not as good. I think we'd all agree that the interiors technology, Dodge was always behind everybody, but their cars were cheap and they were profitable selling those cheap cars. Stellantis came along and started trying to be a luxury automaker. And if you look at, that Grand Wagoneer S, the thing looks like a Range Rover. It looks as good as my wife's Land Rover on the inside. Now, I do believe, and I'm hearing rumors that things are a disaster mechanically, but appearance-wise, it's a beautiful luxury vehicle, and it's priced as a luxury vehicle. If you look at the Grand Wagoneers, incredible luxury vehicles, they were priced as high-end luxury automakers would price an SUV. So those are not G-Wagons. Those are not BMW X7s. Those are not these high-end Land Rovers. They aren't. They were still Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram products, and they wildly overpriced and tried to compete in the luxury market. Now, I'll tell you, in my world, I've seen this happen plenty of times when some of my competitors decide they're going to go be a luxury company and do luxury business, and they end up spending millions and millions of dollars only to fall flat on their face. And that's called losing your identity. You can't go try to be something you're not. And especially when it's Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram, short of them coming out with some new brand or bringing one of their European brands to America and launching that here, which they kind of tried to do with Alfa Romeo, and it did not work. They needed to stick with what was working. Selling those SXTs, those GTs, selling the Chrysler 300s. They sold so many, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of those things, and people loved those cars. People still love those cars. And slight body updates, appearance updates, slight interior updates, but nothing that cost them a fortune. And if they go back to that, they can absolutely fix the company. And maybe it's not bringing back the Pentastar, which I think would be a brilliant idea, but it's bringing back cheap drivetrains, cheap cars that are reliable. And it's, as I've said many times, many of my videos, go back to the Lee Iacocca strategy and get back in your lane, which is cheap cars, fun cars, nice looking cars, attractive cars, commuter cars, starter cars. I mean, hell, the Dodge Neons and all that kind of stuff. Get back to offering all kinds of those products on those dealership lots, and then have the Halos, have the Hemis, have the RTs, have the Scat Packs, have the Hellcats, and every couple years tell us you're never going to make another Demon again, and then make another Demon again. Tell us you're never going to sell a Hellcat Durango again, and then come back 3 years later or 2 years later, and then bring back the Hellcat Durango. I would rather you lie to me in that way than come out here and lie to me and tell me that your Grand Wagoneer S thing is as good as a Land Rover, Mercedes, BMW, and when I say as good, as worthy of being considered a luxury vehicle and priced as such. I'd rather you just deliver me some stuff that we can all afford to buy and enjoy. And I'll tell you, I started off with the RT, went to the Scat Pack, then went to the Red Eye, then went back to a Scat Pack, went back to another Scat Pack, went back to a Scat Pack standard body manual, if you remember that white one, gorgeous car, and then went back to a Hellcat, and then went back to a Scat Pack, and then went to the Demon, and then went back to a Scat Pack. Here's the deal. You know how much money they've made off of me alone? So many of us have those stories over the years of starting at here and ending up here and then going back here, but staying with the brand. And when their kids get old enough to drive, they go out and they buy a freaking Neon or something, or they go buy a Chrysler 300 or something. And they get a decent car at a decent price, at a fair price, with a decent warranty and decent reliability. That's what they need to do. It can't just be the Hemi. The Hemi cannot save them alone. They've got to fix these prices, get back in their lane. But have they gone too far now? Have they overbuilt all these cars now with these expensive interiors and the weird lighting inside the cars and illumination, all that crap that they're so proud of? Done all this expensive stuff only to price all of us out and have us say, well, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, well, damn it, I'm going to go buy a BMW. If I'm going to be in the shop all the time, might as well do it with a BMW, where they give me a loaner car, which is another BMW. See, that's the other thing. The Dodge dealers, Chrysler dealers, now some of you may have a dealer in your area, your market, that they did give you loaners. I'm sitting in the mecca of people with money, and way more money than I have. And I don't have a single Dodge dealership, Chrysler dealership, Ram dealership here where if I took my $65,000 originally, now it's worth $50 at the most, Challenger to the shop to get serviced, where they will give me a loaner car. Can't. I have to go rent a car. Yet my wife's Land Rover, she takes it in to the Land Rover dealership to get serviced, which she'll be taking in next week again for the 27th time, because the thing's a colossal piece of she might hear me, but anyways, you know what I'm saying. She loves that thing. They're going to send her back in like a Jaguar or a Land Rover. Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram are not luxury cars. You do not have luxury service departments. You don't have luxury dealerships, yet you're trying to sell luxury cars. I think I've said enough. I think I made my point. So with that, everybody, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know if you think Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram will get out of their own way this year and fix that company. I'm going to tell you, I don't think they will, because Elkin and everybody over there appears to still be thinking that it's just one thing that's going to fix it. They're still trying to pump out these high-end cars. Let me just tell you this also. The Dodge Charger Daytona EV, it is a nice damn car. Inside and out, beautiful. Not great on performance, and definitely not worth $85,000. But they thought they could put lipstick on that pig, and that we would all walk in there and go, damn, this is so much nicer than the thing we've been driving for the last 10, 12 years. I want this nice new thing. And some people are falling for it, but most of us are not. But again, if they put a Hemi in that thing, it's still not going to save the company. It'll help, no question, they'll at least sell something, not end up with tons of these things sitting on lots trying to do $300, $400, $500 leases on them. But they need to bring back the cheap cars and stop trying to be a luxury automaker. So with that, like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.